Everyone, get everyone to take a seat. We're going to get started in just a minute. So, wanted to grab anything to drink. We got more seats. If you don't see any, we can bring some out. Everyone, please settle down. Thanks for coming to the July monthly OPA meeting. I'm Sean Besser. You don't know me. I'm president of OPA. We got a pretty busy calendar of speakers today. Starting off with police department, followed by Mayor Negrete, followed by Kathy Taylor.
Sitting here.
When you're talking to me.
Okay.
And then finally Eli Gill. And then we'll get into our board business. So let's get started. I believe I see Officer Hollowell from Santa Monica Police Department online. So let's hand it over to him.
Hello, everyone.
Can't hear you, officer.
Can you hear me now?
Is there an officer who's going to be here today? One sec, officer. We're not hearing you.
My mic is on, so I'm not sure what.
One sec. Try it again. There.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, but there's a weird echo.
Not sure why. Do you guys have something else in your room? You have a computer down at on that chair.
You have to mute that.
Let's try it again.
Okay, can you hear me?
One sec, officer.
Can the folks at home hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me kind of clearly? Okay, thank you. Alima, there was a little problem.
One sec, officer.
Can you do a mic check from the office? Alima.
What was that?
Can you do a mic check? There was a little bit of issue hearing me, but I wanted to know if they could.
1 sec.
Oh, I think they're working on it.
Not sure what's going on, everyone. Sorry about this.
Turn the volume back on the laptop.
Usually I'm running it all through here, not there. So it should be working. All right, can you try speaking, officers?
Hello.
No,
Can you hear me?
that's just, yes, but I'm trying to get you on the big speaker, so give me 1 second. It was working before. Hopefully this works. Officer Bretta?
Yeah, hi.
All right, let's give this a shot. Sorry about the feedback, everyone. I'll try and troubleshoot it while the officers are talking.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do you want me to go ahead and start?
Tell Jeff he's free to leave at any time. Can you guys hear us?
I don't know.
We heard you. I just muted it so we're not getting feedback. You got a good
Yes.
laugh, officer.
Okay, good.
Do you want me to
Go
start?
for it.
Okay. Alrighty, let's just get to it. So Officer Avila is here with me, as you can see. And we have Officer Hollowell with me as well. So I'm gonna get into some of the things that have been kind of highlighted in the last 30 days. And I was looking at a lot of assaults.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying.
people known to one another. Is there a sound issue still?
You can keep going. I'm just trying to make it louder for the people in the room.
So just looking at, for example, in the Blue Notebook that's coming out for this week, we're just reviewing a lot of domestic violence incidents that seem to have happened in the last week. And 2 of those incidents were actually in the OPA area. But besides the domestic violence, I just noticed a lot of assaults of people somehow known or connected, whether it was domestic violence or neighbors, or had some sort of past. And so what I wanted to kind of talk about with that was being a good reporter and ensuring that you feel comfortable calling the police when you see these incidents. Especially with cases of domestic violence, oftentimes people feel they don't want to get involved in someone's relationship, but of course these are extremely dangerous situations. So we want people to feel comfortable reporting what they hear or see. If it turns out to be nothing, that's absolutely fine, but we'd rather that police arrive at the scene and check that out themselves and ensure that something worse doesn't occur. That goes for any incident. If you know these people are always fighting with one another, or they've had some sort of past altercation, we still want that reported. We want to ensure that we're protecting people's safety and your own as well. If these are people that you have some sort of vicinity with, it is important that you are making those reports. And in incidents of domestic violence, there are other factors that are involved, like domestic violence restraining orders can be placed and put into order. And that would kind of change sort of the dynamics of how prosecution is handled. So just a lot of different things that can come out of making that call and reporting it, or if there's been other calls in the past, or the person has a history of these type of incidents. So please make sure that you are comfortable making those calls. If you have questions or you've had an incident or know somebody who may be going through that, feel free to even call me if you want to kind of talk it out and try to understand what your options are or what you want to tell that person. I'm happy to speak with you on that. But just wanted to kind of discuss that particular situation that we've been noticing. On a side note, there was an aggravated assault that happened. This was at Star Liquor, and actually, no, this is two separate aggravated assaults. So this one was at Star Liquor. Individual was asked to move. He was hanging out on the sidewalk. The employee asked him to leave, and the individual reacted aggressively and swung a metal pole at the employee. The employee was not harmed, but the individual actually hit himself and was ultimately arrested and taken to the hospital. And then the other one was somebody who was just walking along near Ocean Park in Maine. Someone sucker punched him from behind and apparently got into a vehicle. There were some witnesses. And what I want to highlight with this that I thought was interesting is, as you may have heard, we've had the flock system license plate readers that have been put into the city. So with the help of those license plate readers, we've been able to narrow down suspect information. So it's been a really great system so far, and it's been helping us with a lot of different cases, and it's very useful for detectives. So wanted to kind of highlight that new technology and how it's been helping in investigations and keeping the public safe. And then lastly, we had about 11 thefts, and those thefts, the majority were bike thefts, and a couple of them were package thefts. So with the bike thefts, I've talked about bike index in the past, ensuring that you're registering your bike, and that you have that if you have a more expensive bike, that you have the serial number for that. So if it is stolen, that you're able to properly report that information.
If a bike is stolen and it's in a garage.
One sec, Rudy, let them run through their
Oh,
things.
sure,
Thank
no
you.
problem. I have a real license.
And
Keep
then
going.
lastly, there was one incident, and this is almost kind of going back to the domestic violence aspect a little bit, but it's categorized as a burglary. This particular incident, the victim's ex-boyfriend broke into her apartment and poured bleach on her clothing and took some items. So it's classified as a burglary, but this is just in line with the domestic violence. So it's just interesting in seeing that these incidents have sort of, I don't know, I can't say necessarily that they've spiked because I'd have to look at the statistics to know for sure, but it's just something that's kind of, being flagged for us right now. And in this incident, even though it's not categorized as a domestic violence assault per se, it's still in the same kind of parallel kind of universe there. So just wanted to highlight that. And even in that situation, it could be potentially very dangerous. It's different than just a regular burglary. And with the connection that they had to the potential suspect, just having that knowledge is really important for officers reporting to the scene. So I wanted to highlight that as well. And then before I get to questions, I just wanted to remind you all that National Night Out is next month. We're a couple weeks away. It's going to be on August 5th. It's in front of the Santa Monica City Hall. It's going to be from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. The theme this year is All Stars, so it's all sports related and just family friendly activities and games, food, giveaways, all that good stuff. So we hope to see you there. I know that OPA will be tabling as you've done in other years, so we're excited for that. And we're excited to see the community out there as well. And I have the flyer. I can't recall if I've already sent it to y'all, but I can send it to you to share in the newsletter as well.
And before we get into questions about bikes, I want to give a clear response to registering your bikes on Bike Index and knowing the serial number of your bike, particularly e-bikes. Our records administrator will not accept any stolen reports for unidentified e-bikes. Those bikes go into the stolen vehicle system because they're stolen vehicles. In order to place an item in the stolen vehicle system, it has to have a license plate number, a VIN number, or a serial number, and in accordance with being able to be implemented. So that is a nationwide system, and it just doesn't, it has to have information to be put in it before it can actually be a thorough hit. So make sure when you're buying these $4,000 bikes, take the serial number, write it someplace. If you don't know where the serial number is located, it's usually on the very bottom under the crank of the bicycle is. It's either there or on the B post or on the box somewhere.
Cool. Thank you, officers. Any questions? There's actually no questions. Oh, wait, we do have one.
I have one about the e-bikes. We live over by Seacolony, and most of you park there. They're just getting out of hand. They're running in and out in front of people, elderly people, dogs. I mean, it's really crazy. Is there anything that can be done about that?
I've been asking
12-year-olds.
One second. I cannot, when you guys do that, I can't hear you from home. It's a little bit easier in person, but when a person talks and I'm about to answer the question and then another person does that, I can't hear what you're saying. So if you wait till I respond and then I'll respond back to you, sir. I have been asking you all to really support me and the mayor is there and the chief is now aware also that you would like something done about that with a plan. It is very hard as 1 and 2 officers to go out and chase renegade kids who don't care about the police, who are not stopping for the police, to take action with a juvenile justice system that is not prosecuting traffic infractions and traffic violation as it applies to minors. When there is a change in the way that we prosecute or hold people accountable, when it becomes clear to us that is a problem, it doesn't change policy. So LA County has changed policy, and they're really not enforcing the law with as it applies to juveniles. I think since the chief has seen it firsthand, he has directed traffic enforcement detail to come up with a plan. But if you want to email that to the new city manager, Mayor Negretti is there, so she's aware. But I need your support. It's not that we don't see it. It's how much time and how much do the neighbors care to get involved and take clear action. I've been to this meeting 4 times and I've said the same thing about this very issue. And then the very next meeting, someone comes and asks me this question. So I'm feeling like I'm all alone at actually dealing with the problem. And if I'm wrong, anybody can feel free to have a conversation with me. But I think this is my 4th or 5th meeting discussing this very same issue.
Thank you, officer. Unless there's any other questions, Eli Gill up front.
You guys mentioned the license plate reader system. What are you guys doing to enforce missing plates and plates with smoky covers and things like that? Seeing those all over the city and it seems like they're unenforced.
I mean, we're not taking any specific action to when people have a smoky plate cover. That would just be a regular vehicle violation that we would be observing at any given time, just as tabs or no front plate, or if the officers have time to conduct that and they see that as a violation that they want to stop, that's when we would stop it. We're not taking any specific dedicated action to when people cover their plates, and it's a violation. I think it's 5203 BC, but I think there's a lot going on in the city. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of things that we're trying to get a hold of. And when we have officer down situations and we have folks in the city shooting and being crazy, we want to address crimes and crimes of violence. And so that takes a very low level response to our vehicle enforcement for minor traffic things. When we see that, we shouldn't be seeing in a year 2 officers violently attacked. We know that our direction is going to change when we have those types of things happening in our city. So it's not that we don't see it, but we're really working on getting our property crimes down and our violent attacks down.
And then one more question up front here.
The bike problem. Is it of any value to write to the Santa Monica City Council about this problem in terms of?
I was just gonna, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm gonna talk to you guys about I just talked to the city attorney today about a 16 item I have to address exactly the bike problem, just so you know. So.
Yeah, I think that you have the right person in the room that can tell you exactly. I mean, my advice, besides the mayor's advice, is always don't write 7 council folks. Select 1 or 2 and make your issue known to them so that you can have a corresponding, for any issue, you can have a corresponding communication, opposed to emailing 7 people and then out of the 7 people, you're not sure who's going to respond to you, and who's out of those 7 people, they're not sure who they should be responding to. So that's my only advice as when you're writing city council.
Thank you, officers. Thanks for making time today.
Yeah. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Next, welcome Mayor Negrete. Yeah. Whatever you like, steel like, however you want to engage. Steel like, yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
The floor is yours.
I mean, it's really cool to be in person. I'm not a fan of being on Zoom, so this was cool to come in. I just came in from the music store, so I threw this on to look more professional, but, this is my neighborhood. I'm born and raised in Santa Monica, 4th and Ashland. My dad passed away last year, but my uncle and my stepmom is still aging on the corner of 4th and Ashland. So this library, this area is really home to me. And I spend, I don't know, every day we go for walks and we're down here. I think my daughter's on Main Street now. So super excited to be here in person, and I really want to make this casual. I know you had put just talking about like my vision. I'll bring up the fact that it's State of the City this Friday, so I hope you guys will be there. Thursday, sorry. Thursday, and I hope you guys will all be there. It's going to be a little different in the sense that I wanted to do something different because usually it's held inside of an auditorium and there's sort of a speech and someone's talking at you, and you know, that can be really boring. And I wanted to bring the community together. We've been through a lot. All of us as a city, myself personally as the mayor, going through cancer, losing my dad in the city, going through a fire and multiple, you know, besides the shooting last week, we've just gone through a hell of a lot this year. And so to come to a place that kind of has painstakingly been the eyesore of homelessness, clean and safe in a lot of ways, I thought what a perfect place to actually hold the State of the City, because we've come a long way and we want to show you where we're at there. And so it kind of leads into this idea of, we know we're not perfect and we have a lot of work to do, but there's some optimism. If I can have the State of the City at 3 Park, for since I was a little girl to now, we've seen homelessness ebb and flow through that park. We've seen crime, we've seen picnics in the park, we've seen movies in the park and concerts in the park. I thought it was a great place to do it. So it's a family affair, a lot less talking at you, more engaging with city staff and booths, and really getting to have one-on-one conversations with our city staff to see where we're going and what's looking ahead. Because I think right now we really have to just look ahead. So I was born 1979. So I'll just tell you that today, as I was gathering photos to put up to pay sort of homage to what my dad gave during his time on cultural affairs in the chamber. Since 1975, there's a picture of him and Nat Travis playing music in the park. So we've been activating our parks and our public spaces as a way to mitigate a lot of the homelessness activity forever. It's not a new concept. It's just, how do we do it differently? And so as we look to our promenade and our retail space and how we're seeing so many vacancies, this exists in Westwood and other places. I was in retail before in terms of running luxury brand stores. So I know this firsthand, and I'm working closely with the new Prism who's taken over our mall. This is not just here. These are issues they're seeing in their other areas as well. But what makes it unfortunate is, you know, it is like the heart of it's the heartbeat of our downtown, and it's connected to the mall. So when the mall has vacancies and the downtown area, it just becomes a big eyesore, since that's our big tourist attraction. So working with downtown Santa Monica, Lynn Davis, before she left, I worked with her on an entertainment zone, which we've seen come to fruition. I know everybody may not agree. I can tell you so far it's been successful. There's not a bunch of drunks staggering around or 8-year-olds drinking booze. And so it's actually, I've been videotaping every weekend going out, that there's been families with wine and cheese. And for the first time, if you follow me on Instagram, I document a lot of what I do when I'm out in the city. There was about 50 people circled around 2 kids dancing to old 1920s music, and a 3-year-old singing and playing on the piano, and people gathered around. And I was like, okay, this is starting to look like the promenade I remember. It's a bummer that the stores are still vacant, but as most of you know, we don't own the stores. What we do have the ability to do is some of the things we did last year and at the beginning of this year. There's my daughter, which is modified conditional use permits, and pretty much do away with that. And those are big fancy city words that I hate to use, but basically we've cut the bureaucratic red BS tape so that businesses can come in and do business quickly, effectively, efficiently, to serve the new way we shop. Long gone to the days of the 3-story, 30,000 square foot gap, right? So it's a new time now. People want experiences like Holy Moly, where you're playing interactive golf games, you know, on 2 different floors. They want to go in and play pickleball on the promenade. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible by cutting red tape so that those types of businesses can open, and also cut the red tape so that landlords can activate their buildings on the alley side, on the front way, divvy them up, so that we're giving them options. They're not stuck with these big blank canvases. But I will say, no knock to landlords, but especially as it pertains to right here on Main Street. There was an eyesore on the corner that used to be World Cafe. I just pulled up a black and white photo of my dad playing there. And that was an amazing spot. And it was even afterwards, it was always continuously a cool space that was vibrant with music and food. And what we're seeing is people are holding onto their space either because maybe it's in a portfolio of properties for them and they're wealthy enough to say, I'd rather write this loss off. So we went to code and said, hey, we need to do something about this. I was for a vacancy tax. That didn't go over so well. So now we're looking at, trying to cite people for leaving it abandoned and having overgrowth or broken windows or things like that. I don't know how effective that's going, to be honest with you, because in my opinion, code has to actually stop giving warnings and actually give tickets and fines for people to care. Otherwise, what's the point? So that's my gripe with that. But what we've done is I know with our new our new head of our economic development department, Armine, we've gone out and aggressively gone after businesses and said, hey, you should think about Main Street. You should think about the Ocean Park corridor. You should think about the promenade. Oh, that's too expensive. Actually, you think it is, but we have some landlords who are willing to lease on a 10-year for $5 a square foot. So we're bringing those businesses here, and that space has had some movement and some action and some offers. Actually, there was multiple bids. It's not a city-owned site, but I happen to know because I brought 2 of the bids and to, have them be introduced to the landlord. So as it pertains to Main Street, the same issues that we see on the promenade are like these vacant buildings. I can tell you that where O'Brien's was in Main on Main, that is actually going to be something opening up soon. So you'll start to see that happen. Mark from Lavecchia is a dear friend of mine, and I was also like on his ass about that. Like, we need to do something about that space. And so those 2 spots will be activated. Right now, Via Veneto, Fabrizio just passed away from cancer a few days ago. He kept it very quiet. His wife's been messaging with me. They're opening the place next door and activating it, but they're having some problems with the city that I'm helping them navigate. So it's not perfect, like I said, but we've removed a lot of red tape. So activity and being more service oriented is the goal. One of the things that I remember back in the day when I helped my parents with the music store was we used to have an ombuds person that would help you navigate. As a kid, my dad would make me call the city to ask questions, and Nate, you had one person that would help you talk to all the different departments. And we don't really have that anymore because people work from home. It's really siloed, right? Like you show up and you might have 2 people, but the 3rd person's not there today and you have to make an appointment online. I'm a big proponent, and I know it's not popular, for people to come back to work. We're a city that's serving people. We're not in the private sector, right? This is taxpayers' dollars. We should also not be closed every other Friday. We should have an A and B staff that alternates so that we're open 5 days a week. If we want to get our stuff back together, we've got to be in person. I look at it as an organization. I run a corporation myself, my family business. If something's not working, I'm not going to tell people to come in less hours. I'm going to tell everybody to come in and huddle. You can't build if you don't have relationships. It's one of the reasons why I like being in this room. It's really easy for people to like say things, be keyboard warriors and all that. But when you have a dialogue with someone and you feel their energy and you feel who they are and it's real, that's different. People have to come to work to experience that and come up with ideas. And sure, there's downtime, but that downtime at the cooler or getting lunch is when you build relationships and you come up with great ideas. So I'm really hopeful with Oliver Chi, who's starting today, our new city manager. He believes in this concept too, that we start to see people coming back to work in the office. And that this concept of every other Friday, I just said this right now, and that's probably going to reverberate through the community and I'm going to get like hung by a tree. But I do think it's a little interesting because myself included, I cannot remember which Friday it's closed. And it just seems weird to me that we're a city hall, we should be open. We can have an A and a B staff to, if people want to work those extra hours during the week. So to recap, we need to be in person. We need to be seeing ourselves as of service, not just to our constituents, but if we want to see economic recovery, we have to be more than an ombuds person, but we have to be of service. We need to be answering the phone, like, what can we do for you? And how can we help you and make Santa Monica an attractive place? And Armine has done an outstanding job. I cannot tell you how amazing she's been. She's looked at all the items that I have put forward that didn't move forward and said, let's tackle these. And she's been hitting them one by one. Our RAT department, Rex and Departs, Jenny Rogers is amazing. We have a little subgroup, myself, Jesse Zwick and Barry Snell. We work together to help think of new activity and events that we can bring back to our city to attract people to come here. The bottom line is we need people to choose Santa Monica. So if you're traveling from an hour away, 20 minutes away, or from another country on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, you don't have anything to do, why do you choose Santa Monica? If we have continuity and programming, meaning every Thursday is salsa dancing on the promenade, every Friday is live music here on Main Street, every Saturday is this, people know that that exists. And even if there's only 5 people that shows up the first time you do it, it's proven that if you keep consistent with our programming, people will continue to choose to be here because we have sunshine, outdoor dining, live music, outdoor entertainment. And that's what we can really help drive other folks to say, maybe I will open my shop there because I see the foot traffic. So that's been a real focus. I personally have been going on field trips with Armene. I actually know some folks, Mark Wahlberg to be one of them, and I've done some special tours of some footprints and buildings to say, could you please bring your restaurant, your clothing line, whatever it is here. And people want to come to Santa Monica. There's even been some talks about some of the big retailers that left coming back in a smaller footprint, the same way Barnes & Noble did. So I want you to know that when you see BB Bop close, know that King's Chicken is opening. When you see one thing being ordered up, know that someone else is coming in with another concept. And we just have to be optimistic and continue to check ourselves where things are not going great and be honest with ourselves where clean and safe is leaving the mark so that we can continue to see that growth. And so on that front, as it pertains to clean and safe, which I lump in with homelessness, and I'm talking about the homelessness that we see on our streets, the folks that are predominantly chemically dependent and intoxicated and or mentally unstable, and I don't know which came first, and really need to be hospitalized and need medical attention. I think we need to be honest with ourselves. I know this isn't popular, but it's not so much about getting them into an apartment right away, it's about getting them the help they need, because most folks that I come into contact with are not able to have a full sentence, let alone like keep an apartment. When I was 18, I was working and paying my way through college, and I don't know that I was even able to live on my own. So I think putting forward with Measure PSK and ensuring that the fire department rolls back out some version of that critical response unit, which is a van that intercepts. So when they get a call that a man's down and they don't know if he's alive, an engine pulls out, you know, we're taking the 911 response team, an ambulance and a fire truck, when it could be just somebody who's taking a nap in the middle of the street that really needs somebody to engage with them to convince them that they need to go into services. And so that's my desire for that. Now, we had that and it wasn't successful because it was like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And I think we all can agree that it needs to be 24 hours a day. And so that is the plan with Measure PSK, is eventually it'll have a nurse practitioner that can do street medicine and really be a full service van. But in the interim, what it does is it frees up the fire department to go respond to someone who's having a stroke or a heart attack or a car accident, and allows those people to spend the time to what we call hold up the wall in an emergency room, meaning waiting for someone to be checked in. That's lower down the line. We put some money towards police. I'll be honest, I wasn't happy with the fact that it didn't come out the way we were supposed to, but we got what we got. We have a sergeant, we have extra patrol downtown, and we have some community service officers, and we're going to focus on this downtown area. But I do think Officer Hollowell touched on it, like all of us have to engage and not use the 311 app. It tracks it, email, communicate. We can't get numb to what we see because then we're not tracking it and putting what we call cops on dots. So if we get calls about something happening perpetually in one area, they're doing roll call 3 times a day. That adds up to what we call cops on dots. They put a dot on that area. We've had 15 calls in 1 week about this one issue. They're going to send more patrol units there. And one thing I do want to say as well, like earlier about the electric bikes. So San Diego, you might have seen, their city council did something about the fact that they made, one of the council members made an unpopular motion to make sure that 12-year-olds cannot be riding on these electric bikes. It's not safe for anyone. None of us wants to accidentally hit anybody, let alone a 12-year-old child. Second of all is requiring even adults to wear helmets on motorized vehicles that can go 30 miles per hour, because it's basically a motorcycle. And so I want to work with the police department to get the correct language, to come up with something to make sure we address it, because it is a problem in multiple cities. I just came back from Independent Cities Association, and this was the topic of the weekend. These electric bikes, they're dangerous for everybody. So I'm going to put that together, and hopefully we can have that on the July 29th meeting to direct staff to come back with an ordinance that will help the police department have a little bit more teeth in how they address those folks. But it comes down to them fulfilling those pieces, right? Like I can put that out there, but we have to act on it and enforce it. So my view for how things are going to go in the next, the rest of this year is we'll continue to see new businesses come in, new types of businesses come in. We'll continue to see the foot traffic increase a little bit on our promenade. Is Easy Promenade so far is going great. Is it going to have problems or hiccups? Maybe. I don't know. We have a new downtown Santa Monica CEO that will be brought in at some point. Andrew Thomas, unfortunately, has moved on to something else. I think he'll be there maybe through October, but he's going to be winding down. And so, you know, when one door closes, another one opens. It's just like with our new city manager. I think it's an opportunity for new, fresh idea, new, fresh blood. And that's kind of how we have to keep moving. I've been resilient this past year. This city is resilient. I'm not trying to sugarcoat and be super cheesy and you're like, everything's gonna be great. But I do want to say that we don't have, are we gonna sit here and wallow in what we suck at? Or are we gonna say, hey, let's try to adjust those things while we're also playing off what we're really great at? Because for those that put up banners on their businesses on the promenade to deter people from coming here, or who go on Instagram and like to highlight all the negative, crazy stuff that's happening here, I always want to ask them, what is your goal? To not have anyone come here so that they won't stay here, so we won't get the tax dollars and the travel and tourism? I understand. I meet with people, by the way, for coffee. Like I'm that council member that will meet with you for coffee. I don't care. Because I'm always trying to understand what you're trying to get at. The only thing I can say is like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to recognize those things. We need that. We need you. You're all the eyes, but we got to work together on a solution. We can't just sit from the cheap seats and criticize how people are doing it. We have to get involved. And that's what you guys are doing here. You're in this room to listen, to learn, and to talk and to engage. And we need more of that. So my number one goal when I got on council, because I'm not a seasoned politician, I have no aspiration to go any higher than serving my community here in Santa Monica. Even though people say that and want me to, just know that I'm telling you, this is where I want to be. This is my community. My kids walk and bike and whatever to school, and I want them to grow up in a community that somewhat resembles what I grew up in Santa Monica. And so, you know, I just want folks to see that, like, as an average constituent who's in the rent control department, who's, you know, managing a business and kids in a nonprofit, I was crazy enough to take this on, not really knowing what I was getting into, because, you know, it's like when no one can tell you what it's like to have kids till you actually have them. And this is no different than that. We obviously only have one support person for all of us, since we get paid roughly $17,000 a year. So we're not doing it for the money. But what you see with that setup is people who either have the time, right? The luxury of time and or money to serve, or they have the political will and they want either the power or they're using it as a stepping stone. I don't fit into any of those buckets. I'm just this resident like you all that saw a need for some change. And to be honest with you, police and fire pushed me into this position. My nonprofit works with at-risk youth and with them. And they were like, some of the stuff you talk about, I think people would resonate with. And I said, well, I cuss like a sailor and I don't have a public policy background. I don't think people will vote for me, but here I am. And so please know that I have an open book policy. I don't know what I don't know. I'm not going to articulate things in fancy policy language like some of my colleagues, and that's okay. We need a good balance on the day, but I'm an open book. I want to work with you. I want to figure out how we can do things better. And I'm also eager to learn more. For those of you who've been in the community longer than me and have been serving on boards and commissions longer than me, I know that I have a lot to learn from you. So I don't pretend to know everything. I'm just here trying to do the best I can with the tools I have. So I want to open it up to you guys if you guys have questions.
We start with board members first. Judy.
We're getting a new city manager, but in next week.
No,
Today.
8 hours ago.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about, you know, why you chose him and what he's going to bring to the city that we haven't had?
And I know you meant you as in the whole council, because it's a, and that's another thing I want to point out. The mayor doesn't have any extra power or votes than the rest of the council. I'm just a council member with a special title to run the meeting and be the spokesperson for the city. We went through a very rigorous process. We chose a more boutique firm to do that search, which I thought was great because they went far and wide. And we had like 40 people narrowed down. We actually had them come in for a weekend, and for the first time ever, I thought it would be a good idea to have staff and key people in the community be a part of it. So that process led us down to 3, and Oliver was the best, and I'll tell you why. He's young. He's also applied to, well, I say young, I just turned 46. I think he's my age. I don't know. So he applied 3 times to work in Santa Monica. He really wants to be here. And this is his end stop. Now, I can't promise you that, but I can tell from having been a part of the last process, this is his end stop. He just closed escrow on a house 2 months ago in Irvine, but he's gonna move here. And he's already renting and staying here. He's already checking out the schools for his kids. So he wants to be a part of the community, number one. He has a really good hold on finances and already impressed me with the way he sees the budget. And he said, you know, I don't know that it's as bad as it looks. We have a lot of CIP projects, one-time monies that are running us into that deficit. But really, at the end of the day, we're running in a surplus. So that's good news. It just means we need to reevaluate how we're doing things. And he agrees that people need to come in and work together. I think when you meet him, you'll see he's really warm and he has a laugh that if anyone knows him who's ever worked with him, if you just say, oh, Oliver's laugh, it's a laugh you can hear down the hall. And I think it speaks to a lot of what we are as a community. I think he's going to blend right in, but I think he's going to right the ship. I think there's some organizational like togetherness that needs to be brought in to kind of like be strong and move forward. And I think he's going to do those things, but I'm really impressed with the way he's looking at the budget. That's really important for us right now, you guys. We're 59 million in a deficit. And I think the fact that he's coming in saying something that no one's ever said about the budget is intriguing to me. So I think you guys will all like him. He's very approachable. He was at the 4th of July parade.
Yep. I was just going to say, echoing some of that, I've been in touch with him. He's super eager to engage with the community. As Lana said, he brought his whole family to the parade. He actually wanted to come speak at tonight's meeting. And I said, dude, it's K1, like pace yourself. He's coming to our next meeting in August. So we'll all get to meet him there. He really wants to do a listening tour and get to know him. So
I took him to meet a senior, different people, and every week he's been coming twice a week for the last month. So he's starting pretty.
cool. Jerry, then John.
Well, first of all, Mayor Negretti, I really want to thank you for your ongoing updates that you do. And even in the face of your own personal health challenges, it's really remarkable, and you're doing a great job in promoting optimism. I wanted to know, I guess it's controversial, but it seems like we're unified about these ICE raids or the potential for that, or what's going on and how that'll affect us and what we're going to do, because we have to stand together. It's just not right.
Yeah, we're part of the lawsuit. So Heidi Soto-Feldman and I do panels all the time. I joined with her early on. We had the discussion. I connected her with our city attorney. We've only had one incident, as you know, on 16th in Washington. We don't know if that person was a resident or on a work site. It seems to be they were working. Outside of that, we have not had any other incidents. So we've joined that to make sure that we're aligned to be prepared if we see anything like we've seen. But I'm hopeful that things are going to take a different turn. I will say that there's an undercurrent of folks that you won't see. I'm very close with the undocumented and documented community in Santa Monica. We've been giving them the things that they need, food, groceries. Some of these people don't want to leave their house. And there's been small pockets of people who've been organizing money, carpools for kids to go to camp, making sure the kids that go to Virginia Avenue Park aren't missing those programs. Summer school carpool rides, I personally have been involved in that. So we've been doing our part. I drove folks to graduation myself to make sure people felt protected. We're giving ourselves, but we're not making a show and tell of it for a reason. And I want you guys to all understand that both the documented and undocumented community really want to make sure that things are being done where it's going through that community first. Because I think a lot of times as allies, folks want to get up and make a lot of noise, and you have to understand that they're paralyzed with fear, and oftentimes that can bring a lot of attention that they don't want.
John, your next thing.
Well, I don't actually have a question, but since you're in front of OPA, since me, Sean and Robbie and a few others remember the first time we closed Main Street coming out of COVID, and the role that you weren't elected yet or appointed yet, but we remember the people who used, and let's do that. So I don't think we've ever had a chance to say thank you. So, thank you. Now, I don't feel deep goes on money. I have been talking, I particularly been talking to the merchants about Main Street.
I know, I've heard. I've heard. I think as long as, I think as we roll it out and we see how it should best work, because I have some criticism on how things should work, not that it's going bad, but just how we use more logo cups and continuity, but
Yeah, but we have to remember, we have.
Let's bring back the
buses.
trolley.
Can you explain to the audience what you meant by that?
What?
Bring back the
You
easy.
want to turn
Yep.
Main Street into what? I couldn't hear.
So downtown Santa Monica right now is really what's called a designated outdoor refreshment area.
But just the promenade.
So just the promenade, right, where you can actually buy a cocktail at one place, they give you a particular cup and a wristband, and then you can walk up and down the promenade with the drink in your hand, right?
That seems ridiculous.
Except it's working really well and there hasn't been.
Rudy, please do not
So-
interrupt
So
people.
what, on Main Street, conditions
not how we
are
do it
different, right? We cannot close the street because buses run down it. So our only option to be able to do that is when the street closes for events. So we're asking to allow the businesses to come out onto the street, right? Jameson's, whoever it is, have a beer. We're gonna bring vendors in like we do that sort of stuff. So it'll only happen, 6 or 8 times a year or 1 or 2 days a year. That's really what we think will happen. So
It just
that's,
lets people move around instead of being
Yeah.
stationary.
It's a good idea. Good idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
you,
Well, I have three scenarios with respect to electric bikes. First of all, I believe, and I may be mistaken, but I believe there are certain beach communities that have actually banned electric bikes, like on the sidewalk, by the beach, number one. Number two, I believe New York City is implementing or wants to implement an ordinance such that both the person, the rider, driver, and the bike have to have plates. You have to have a license to do it, and you need a plate. It would be a revenue source. It would make things accountable. The PD wouldn't have to say, oh, Mike, I'm sorry, I saw those 6 guys, but they painted us on the hill. Third scenario, you may recall, I think it was before the pandemic, when there were tagout signs, like a stop sign, but it was an alert sign at each end of Santa Monica on like a concrete bike path, which said, speed limit, I don't know, 15 miles, 20 miles an hour, whatever the heck it was. It was there for a few months and then it fell by the wayside. The city is in a financial hole. Here's a windfall. Here's a cash cow. Have a sworn officer at the Venice border and up by the pier with radar guns. And I'm serious. I'm not being facetious. You post a limit, motorized vehicles, no more than 50 miles an hour. And you shoot people with, not people, you shoot the vehicle with that. And there's a start off with $100 fine, 2, 5, whatever it is. If they don't, and impound the vehicle. They don't get the vehicle, the vendors, mostly in Venice, don't get the vehicle back until they pay the fine. Trust me, they will bring hell upon the people that rent to make sure they keep the limit. So
I mean, I don't jurisdict those things, right? Like, so
No,
I'm
no,
not
I
the
understand,
chief of
and I
police,
don't
but
know if
yeah.
the city has jurisdiction to do those kind of things. It
We
has to be a
can,
state
when I
thing.
talk to them, we're gonna come up with ways, but at the end of the day, like, everyone can put the ideas in writing. Obviously, they're professionals and can say whether or not they can station 2 people and also how they would do it. But yes, we want to address it. I hear you on the money piece of it, but if we're ticketing a
100,000 a day.
16-year-old person, you have to, are we gonna collect the money on that? I don't know.
You collect the fine.
Yeah,
Money.
that's true.
all kinds of flag.
Signs, what
Yes.
is allowed, what's not allowed.
Right.
Venice put the sign, but we
Right.
don't.
Yeah, well, that's what this item's for. We have to inform and educate people, but we need to come up with it has to be a carrot and a stick, otherwise it's just, sorry.
You had a hand up, you had a hand up.
one second.
Oh.
We go in order.
Yeah.
We do things a certain way here. We do not interrupt people and we let people raise their hands and we go in order. You are next.
Mayor, thanks for coming. Love what you're saying in terms of your demeanor and how you're trying to grow the city and make the city better. Love the idea of vacancy tax, sorry, that's not happening. But two things to maybe kind of push your thinking on and challenge you on is, one, you mentioned, experiential is driving, people wanting to come out. And the second is, the city doesn't own these real estate businesses that are closed or these locations that are closed. So the two things, one, I would say is on the experiential piece. I mean, Santa Monica is just losing so much experiential, right? The Spirit Awards, the marathon finish, the Olympics, like we're just not competing really for those things, it seems like, or we are, and it's out of our budget, but
I mean, I can opine on all three of those. It might look like that on the outside, but go ahead.
all right, so that's just one piece that we're losing a lot of these experiential things that will bring people to the city. The second thing on the vacancies bit is that the city kind of has to be here by example. And so like Civic Auditorium has been closed for 12 years. And so it's kind of hard to say, hey, we won't tolerate vacancies when the city owns a piece of property that has been vacant for a dozen years.
But you know what's going on with that, or maybe not. I can fill you in. So up to your first part of your question, the Olympics, we were all bummed, but to be honest with you, we're in a better place. They were gonna have us put up millions of dollars, tens of millions, with maybe not getting it back. We were also gonna never be able to use with the licensing. We'd have to go through the IOC. So every restaurant would want to have a watch party, would have to go through the IOC. So now that we have it, I've just met with 9 countries and 2 are competing just for one space out of the 4 that are all bidding to put athlete houses and experiential houses here for the Olympics. And there's long-term investments in sports things for our kids and things like that. So I think we're in a better space because now everybody can have watch parties and not have to worry about licensing agreements and things like that. And in terms of Spirit Awards and the marathon's going to be ending here, those are not, they never asked us, or they changed it for different reasons on a route. So just know that sometimes it looks one way on the outside. We are pretty aggressive. Our team that goes out there, I have to say, they're pretty good at working, and they've gotten even better since we have a new director and things like that. In terms of, sorry, what was the last one? Well, I don't know if you know, but the Civic is being bidded on. So if there is a music group, hopefully. The problem with it is it was landmarked, and so there's this mechanical function of the stage that has to stay with it. And so de-landmarking it was the idea so that it could make it really a usable space for anybody. But I'm still hopeful. The 2 gentlemen that were the lead in that bid, they lost their house in the Palisades fire. So I think that kind of slowed things down a little bit, but that's still moving in a direction of hopefully making it an entertainment and arts piece. I want to just point out that Councilmember Hall and myself gave direction to staff, and we're coming back with how we rethink concerts on the pier and the beach bigger. I mean, it's been a lot of that. So it's not gonna be what I remember, what I used to love. The concerts on the beach were really for locals and people outside of it, but it was like something I never thought twice about bringing my kids to. It turned into like a bit of a, what show with, stuff. Yeah, the lead came in and it was like, with social media, you can't really put these parameters. We tried the digital fences to not allow people to share. You could screenshot it and share it and have 10,000 people there in 5 minutes. We had 200,000. It was unsafe for the pier. So how we reimagine really utilizing public-private partnerships. I do events myself, for Soap House and other people. So I get that firsthand. I worked on Coachella for 9 years. So how we work with public-private partnerships, people who know how to do it, work with police and provide really secure events. That's how we're going to activate the beach, but it is going to look different. It's not going to look like the concerts we used to have. It's going to have a lot of those private enterprises involved, and that's really the only way to do it. It'll generate income, and it'll be a safe and clean way that we can do it for the city, because we can't always do these big giant events and assume with the fire and police that we currently have that we can sustain that. We have to think about all those things.
Thank you. You're next.
So during COVID, we had wonderful patios at all the restaurants on Main Street, and they're gone for the most part. There are a couple that are left. I've been told by these restaurants that either it was too expensive to keep the patio, or the restrictions that the Santa Monica Council has put on these patios was too restrictive.
Yeah.
And they've taken them down, and I think it's taken away a lot of business from these properties or restaurants, because of it.
So I will tell you, I was one of the lone people that tried to help. I mean, I helped the Levecchia to have their expansion because they shared with the other folks who didn't want theirs. And that was a fight, but they got it. To be honest with you, when everyone was getting it for free and then it became the wastewater rate increase happened at the same time, we had to start charging people. So every restaurant, if you have a restaurant that seats 100 people, it was like $112 per seat. You pay it one time. And that lives with the building. So if that restaurant leaves and a new restaurant comes in, as long as it has 100 seats or less, it doesn't pay a new wastewater fee. This fee is to make sure that our sewage infrastructure, it assumes if you're a restaurant, you're washing lots of dishes, using the garbage disposal, all that stuff. So we raised it like 400%. And it became so expensive that even if you had 10 seats, that made it too expensive to have your outdoor patio. Though there was ways of doing it that maybe we weren't forward thinking about, that I was just talking to staff about not that long ago, reducing some seats inside to compensate for the seats outside because people just enjoy sitting outside. One thing I totally disagree with, and I agree with you, that I fought against, and again, when it's council, it doesn't mean that everybody voted the same way. And there was, you know, a few folks that agreed with me that aren't on the council now, was the idea that we have to have this uniform way that they look. Now, there's some fire code stuff. So there's one, for example, with Levecchia, like they wanted to have the heaters, but then you can't have those coverings. But if you don't have the coverings, he's right under these fig trees that drop all the droppings, and you can't have that on your food. And then it's cold outside. So it's like, it got to be so complicated to have all the right, and I get it. That's stuff that, you know, I hate to put it on fire, but a lot of that was like fire code stuff in his particular circumstance. And so I think they just said, you know what, forget it, it's not for me. But I do agree that we can be more flexible in how we allow outdoor space. I love traveling, and I can go to Europe, you go anywhere else, and the outdoor dining existed way before ours did. They were walking up to people to pay years ago, and they all look unique and different, and I think that's cool. I've actually seen them in some other Southern California cities. So I hope that we can be more innovative and bring back more outdoor dining at a fee that's something that people can digest. It's a hard mix because we also have our water department who has to like increase these fees to make sure that our sewage and all that is running properly. But I think at least letting them do what they want to do with their space and not saying you can't have a lattice. The lattice I understand because on Main Street, homeless people were reaching over and I'm like, well, it's pretty and it's also blocking people from, you know, putting their hands in there. So I agree, and I will remember to make sure that I take that back when we're thinking about that. Thanks.
Rudy?
I have a few suggestions if you don't mind.
Sure.
That one right there, I think we solved it by just having paper and plastic cups, or just plastic cups, single use for all outdoor eating and drinking. And that solves your water problem because it just goes to the trash. So that all you do is increase the trash fee, not the water fee. The heater, well, standalone heaters, not ones above you, are probably the only thing that would be within fire code. The roof probably needs to be a little higher.
Yeah, so I'm not the restaurant.
I'm just making a suggestion. I have
Those
other
are great
things to say.
suggestions for the
I have
restaurants,
other
we don't
things to say.
decide on that.
But if it's the fee that became too high, that's the way you lower it.
Okay,
Why?
thank you.
Hold on, I have another question. The funding of the police and the lack of police in Hotchkiss Park, what's going on? There's not a single officer now that's policing for drugs anymore. There isn't a narcotics division at all. And drugs are constantly in the parks, in the promenade, in the restaurants, in the bars, on this street right here, Third, where I live. This morning alone, I was almost run over, literally just doing a morning walk that I do 3 times a week. I do it around 6:30 a.m., around 1 p.m., around 5:30. There was probably somebody that just wasn't paying attention, but this individual got out of his vehicle with a wooden club ready to hit me. Not much of a threat to me because I had a box cutter. This was not a homeless person. How best do I report that?
You would call the police and make a police report.
I have a video. How best do I report that?
So you would call the
Where's
police.
the officer here?
You could go to the police department. And
I did it.
So you made a police report.
Oh, they didn't have time for me.
Okay, well, that shouldn't be happening. And then
There's not enough police. There was literally a line of 10 people out there this morning.
The police department.
Officer Avila was on the video.
Yeah, but there's no audio for him take a private report. If he was here, I could have done it.
All right.
He has the email.
So I'll just say this, I hear you're frustrated, but I would definitely say that you should follow up on.
I should be quiet and raise my hand.
We have time for 2 or 3 more questions because we've gone super over time, but this is important. So we're going 1, 2. There was one more person there. Go for it.
Okay, thank you for your time. I'll try to be quick. So, I'm a small business owner for like coffee shop, tea shop, like on the Pickle board. And we're not currently on OPA, but considering on expanding over here as well. Like
What is
there,
it?
Dr. Tea House, we're on the 17th Street and the Pickle. And thank you. So, yeah, we're very local community, like.
You're right across from SMC.
Yes, exactly. So for example, there is like this opening on Lincoln and Broadway, used to be Starbucks. It's been empty for a while. They also contact us like, we're interested. So one of the considerations, for example, would be like the lack of parking when it gets far from the beach areas. It's like when there is no public parking, street parking is very limited and hard. When it gets further down, like Santa Monica more towards Midtown, and like it's like how can we better incentive and what can us better do to communicate with the city planning to communicate suggestions or provide feedback. So that's the first one. Second one is also crime. It's like the plaza we're on, all the stores got broken into this year, at least one time. And we just got broken into earlier this month as well. And the result of that is like half of the stores put on bars on their windows, and those are ugly. We insist not doing that, but really there is very limited things we can do. We all have security cameras. We all have, the best cameras, the best alerts, but the people are in and out in 2 minutes. They break in, they just take the whole drawer, they leave, and they're done in 5 minutes. Nobody is going to be able to respond. And also it's like, I know that this is something it's very challenging for like the law enforcers to handle as well, but really what can we do all together to improve on this?
So first of all, I have a business, Santa Monica Music Center. My uncle's here who helped start it 53 years ago, talking to my daughter. So I can sympathize. Actually, one of the driving forces that brought me on here was during the George Floyd riots, we got looted to the ground. They set fire to our other place. And ever since then, we were robbed maybe, 2 times before that, and all the time we were in Santa Monica. We were robbed consistently after that, over a dozen times. One time we had a smash and grab 2 times in one night. So, and I'm also on 19th and Santa Monica Boulevard. We have only permit parking and very few meter parking, and it's so close to the hospital that everybody parks there. So what I can tell you is that we have 4 parking spots, and our 4 employees have to run and drive their cars all over the place. So you can talk to the city about loading zones for customers. That's something you can do and negotiate those things. And please email me on your conversations, lana.negretti@santamonica.gov. And I'm happy, I get involved all the time. Every single week I knock on 10 doors and I meet with over 20 businesses with the local impact group. Every single week I'm doing something with the community, to whether it's mocha with the mayor. August 2nd is margaritas and mocktails with the mayor at Tacos Por Favor. So I will walk with you through that process to figure out how we can come out and look at the parking. I just did it for someone in Pico. She's like, there's no parking. We were able to remove some of the parking things so that people could come and frequent her business. I think that spot you're talking about moving to has an underground parking structure, because it also has, is it across from, is it on the corner inside a parking structure with apartments above it?
It's for the Jersey Mike's.
Yeah, Jersey Mike's, because they do have customer parking. I feel you on the parking as someone who is not a big proponent of taking away all that all the time, because businesses suffer from that. But you can mitigate some of that with some loading zones. I know right there is a few metered zones, and maybe that's something that we can discuss. In terms of the crime, your neighborhood resource officer, your NRO for that area, you make a phone call and you tell them, listen, we need more patrol. They will put you on there, and then we'll make sure that they're doing more patrol. As somebody who's gone through this, we have Nathan Hockman. I helped his campaign the entire time. I supported him because I experienced this, and it's some of the higher level laws that were making it so that it didn't matter if you broke in, they knew nothing was going to happen to them. So I think you'll see some shifts now that Prop 36 has been enacted, but there is some signage that Nathan Hockman's office has for businesses that talks about what you'll be held accountable now with the new laws. You put those in the window, it might be a little bit of a deterrent. I would say continue to have a well-lit area. Your lighting, I understand my landlord won't let us put the gates, and it would also cost me 20 grand to put them up. People always ask me, why don't you just put gates up? It's not that easy. But start with having your neighborhood resource officer. I can help you figure out on an email who that is and have them do extra checks at night so that people see that it's visibly being patrolled.
Thank you. Just quick fun fact, because
I'm sorry, we're out of time. I'm sorry, we're going way over, so.
No, please. Thank you everyone for all the great questions, for the mayor. We're running super long, but we've got, Deputy Fire Chief, Tom Clemo here next, to talk about a few things as it relates to Santa Monica Fire Department.
All right, well, we're getting this. First of all, thanks for having the fire department here tonight. And after watching the mayor, I don't know how she does it. I've been here long enough to see several mayors and I've never seen someone with that kind of energy. It's unbelievable. But let's all take a deep breath for a second. I'm your neighbor too. I live a block from here. I've lived here about 15 years. I grew up in LA or in Long Beach. And I'm listening to a lot of the concerns around here and I'm hoping that in this presentation here today, we can maybe address a couple of those things, a couple of things that come up, and then I'm going to open the floor to questions and give you guys plenty of time to ask anything you want. You want to ask why fire trucks are red? I'll do my best to explain. So thanks for having me again tonight, and I'm here in place of Kathy Taylor, who is our public information officer, our community education coordinator. She's fantastic. She had to pick up her daughter tonight. I live a block from here. The daughter's in Pasadena. This is a no-brainer. And if you guys need anything, again, I mean, I know Jeff, I know several of the folks here. Just pick up the phone. We'd love to be here. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the time tonight. So one of the trickiest things, one of the most important things that we do is to get to your house, is to get to you wherever you are. And we put a lot of effort into that. Whether it's when you pick up your cell phone and you dial 911, we know typically within 3 meters of right where you're at. And we put a lot of money into technology to tell us just that. But the piece that's been missing is that when we get to your house, there might be some information you want to share with us that unless you came to the fire station and told us and we put it into a system that we didn't have at the time, we wouldn't know. And it'd be complicated. So how many of you have pets? Probably everybody. Oh, Judy's got one right there. How many people have got elderly family member maybe living at home that's got some medical needs? How many people have, yes? How many people have medication that think it's important for us to know the meds that you're on, right? Bunch of hands going up. How many people maybe have an access code to a gate or a key hidden that you want us to know about so we can get in easily or not have to break your door, find you easily. We love breaking doors, but that's not the first thing I'm gonna do. Try before you pry. That's what I learned when I was a young firefighter. So we have a software company we've been using for a few years that does all of our records, all of our reports. Every call we go on, every interaction we have with the public, all of our fire prevention and inspection investigations, all that stuff. Well, they've got this cool thing called Community Connect. And I'm just going to zip, you just go ahead and click the next slide. And Community Connect is just a way for you to register all those things I just talked about in a secure fashion, and just us get to see it. And only when we're coming to your house for a call. So if you haven't called the fire department before, there's a likelihood that you probably will in your lifetime, and hopefully not too many times, because normally we're there to try to fix something that's gone wrong for you, whether it's a medical issue, a fire issue, or electrical issue, or something like that, or you're calling on behalf of somebody. But if your address pops up in Community Connect, we see it instantly in the cab of the rig, and it tells us where the cat is at night, where the disabled child might be, in what window we can get at them quickest, where your medications are, what the gate code might be, where you hid the key. And if you decide to move it a week later, you can log back in and put it into the system. We'll see it the second that 911 calls us and says, hey, you got to go over this address. We go to the next slide. We'll go through just a couple of them. So go ahead and go to the next one. So that QR code right there will get you to Community Connect. And even I figured out how to do that without asking anybody smarter than me in the office. How do we do it? So takes me to a website. If you have a business and you have important information about the business, same plan. You could get in there and enter all sorts of information about your business. That if you think we need to know it, like there's an important shut off switch for something. The most important thing that you have is maybe some records you want us to save. Maybe there's a computer that you want us to save first. It's the most important thing to you in that business, or a safe, or something that we can go after and try to save it, because we're always looking for that stuff too. People first, people, pets, and then property. We're gonna do everything we can to try to save the property. So if you go to that QR code, you log in, create a username and password, it's all yours. It's shared with our CAD system. It's totally automated, it's 100% secure. Nothing gets on the other side of that firewall until you call 911. And then that information for your business, for your residents, or both, is pushed right to our screens, which are just iPads in the front of the fire engines that tell us everything that we need to know. Little tricks of the trade of your business or your home, stuff like that, go ahead and put it in there. Go to the next slide.
And before we do that, if you didn't scan it already, I'll make sure it's in Thursday's newsletter.
And thank you for doing that. Thank you. So go ahead and click the video for me. Okay, I can describe it. And if we don't get audio, we just keep on moving. Just a user case scenario. Let's just go ahead and go to the next slide, because I think you have to be in presentation. So one of the questions we often get asked, and I want to get ahead of, is your data. Because, and no offense to my brothers and sisters in law enforcement, but if I were asking for some of this information and I were a cop, I probably wouldn't be interested in sharing that. But the information you're sharing with us is only used by the fire department. We don't share it with anybody else. We don't share it with the software manufacturer. We have very specific contracts with them. There's hundreds and hundreds of user cases of Community Connect nationwide. But that data is just for your first responder professionals, fire service only, not law enforcement. So if there's anything you put in there, the only folks that are going to see it are us. We're only going to see it at the time of dispatch, and that's the end of it. I can't go back and look at it later on. None of our folks can, none of us can. So it is incredibly secure. And that is really at the foundation of Community Connect. And was extremely important to us when we were making this selection and looking if we should move forward with this. So a couple of use cases. Some communities have really adopted Community Connect, and they've got a huge absorption rate. 80 to 90% of their community is in on this. It has a reverse messaging capability too. So if, for example, Palisades fire, there was so much information that was out there. It was hard to distill it down to what matters to the north side of Santa Monica right now. The folks that live over there. Well, how can I just draw a box on that and send a fire department specific message just to your folks that live on the north side? Or if the incident was on this side of town, that allows us to do just that. And we're also pushing out some other messaging, not a bunch of spam, but hey, change the batteries in your smoke detector twice a year. And here's when you do it. A reminder that we've got a community event coming up. A reminder that we have Fire Service Day in May. We'd love to see you there. So we tend to push some of that type of stuff out too. So it is a two-way street and has that capability. And that we see enormous value in. Plus it tells us a little bit about the demographic too. And there's a lot of work that we could do there. We could tailor our community education to that. And that's been important to us as well. We have some excellent demographic data, but you add our calls for service with that data, And now it can really crosswalk and say, hey, you know what, you've got a significant fall problem over in this portion of Ocean Park. And we do, we know that. And now we can target that. And maybe we can give you some resources to help prevent that happening. Because that's what killed my mom, was a fall. So I'm real sensitive to it. And there's a lot we can do ahead of time. We'll go next slide. So how does it work? You hit the QR code. It just asks you a couple quick questions. Select business or residence. You can do one each. You could do them both. Doesn't cost you anything to do it. And you just answer some simple questions. It's pretty straightforward. So how do you create an account? As soon as you hit that screen, you go to that first home screen, and then you start getting asked a couple questions. And then there's different tiles that are available for residents. And on the next slide, some additional tiles for businesses. Very simple questions. You bought anything on Amazon? You can figure this out. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Then the last slide. And then that QR code will get you there. And again, if you forgot it, or you don't have your phone with you, or it doesn't work, get it out in the newsletter. All of our fire stations, including the one at 222 Hollister, has got it in the front window. You could walk up and QR code it on the front window, or better yet, knock on the door, say hi, and ask them how to get to community. That's what I've got for you tonight. And then I'll open the floor to any other questions that you might.
You've already talked about how secure this is. Just curious about whether our city's policy about not cooperating with ICE follows through here.
Yeah, I can't get to this data. And I can get to almost everything in the fire department. I can't get to that. It resides in a place that is only accessed by the address and at the time of emergency dispatch, and only on the fire side of a computer-aided dispatch system that works for police and fire. There's this line between the two. And unless it's even if it's a dual call type, like a structure fire is a dual call type. Let's say you had an assault that had a medical component too, another dual call type, the data still can't be shared between the two agencies. They can't see what we see. Yeah.
A couple questions.
Yeah.
One is, there have been a lot of severe injury crashes as well as deaths in our city year after year, about 5 deaths a year right now. A lot of those involving pedestrians, people on bikes, and speed has pretty much always been a factor. I know that in the past we've tried to get traffic calming measures like speed humps and things like that, particularly on Nielsen was one recently.
Yeah.
And mobility department just says fire won't let us. And I want to know how true that is, and also, because sometimes people just say that because they don't want to do the work, and sometimes there is actual pushback. And I think that you guys are really, your job is protecting life, more than anyone else in the city. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, let's talk about speed humps, because I've got about 30 years of experience with speed humps in different jurisdictions. So, big fan of slowing people down, right? I live right here. I run by this window 3 times a week, 6 times a week, to count my return trip, if I make it, right? And it is top of mind at the intersections until I can get to the bike path. And even then it's top of mind that I'm trying not to get run over while I'm out there. So I'm with you. We respond to a lot of people that get hurt, and it hurts my feelings to see it. I sit on the Vision Zero committee. I'm on the quarterly meetings. I see all the reports. I've usually already know about the incident 20 minutes after it's happened. So I'm with you. Speed bumps, when they're installed correctly for us, are effective, and there's a great balance. If you want to see it, you can go up to Cloverfield in Ocean Park and drive to Pico. We just modified those. We tested them at the airport and they worked great, but they were rubberized and they were basic, and we were trying to, I have the same problem all the time. They weren't as good as we wanted them to be, so the design that we ended up with on Cloverfield are better. Here's the cool thing. In a car, you're gonna hit a speed bump, but in a fire truck, you can split it just right. It's because our axles are wider and the wheelbase is wider. Super simple. solution. So it can be done. It can be done. But one of the things too that we balance it with, we are getting to your house as quickly as possible is critically important. And traffic calming measures have impacts. Bike lanes do have impacts. The other center median islands we can't drive up and over have significant impacts. We have some of the best drivers in the business. I don't just say that because I work here. I say that because I know our accident record and I know the training that they've been given. And I know what the other experience rates are with other fire departments. And we are hand in hand with mobility on the negotiation of where these things go. So we still have limited routes to get to your place. So I hope that answered your question, but they do work. Nielsen Way be a tough install. We're open to the conversation. Certain times of the day, it never gets over 10 miles an hour anyway, so that a lot of times our folks don't use it. Our folks often won't use certain routes. They'll literally look at their watch. They know the time of day and day of week. They will make a route decision at that point because of their knowledge of the city and traffic.
I did have a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Single stair ordinance has been brought up. I'm just curious where you guys are at with that.
Yeah, single stair. So what's that mean? So normally when you get up around 3 stories and up, you got to have 2 sets of stairwells, right? And we learned that the hard way. There isn't a thing in the fire code today that wasn't learned the hard way. Everything in the fire code. I'm looking at exit hardware, exit signage, fire sprinklers. This is probably a bit too old for that. Room capacity, stairwell size, all grounded in fatalities. Every one of them. The fire code's full of them. Single stairwell, if we are cautious and thoughtful about the application of a single stairwell in a certain height and below, and it has all of the provisions we are looking for in it, sprinklers, pressurized stairwell, windows that open up to the front so we can get out it with a ladder truck. And then there's an operations side of it that we need another ladder truck if we're going to be playing in the single stairwell, because your second stairwell is our aerial ladder. And so we are in a lot of conversation and discussions about where that's going to go. And one of our fire marshal actually sits on a committee at the state level associated with single stairwell. We've been very involved in the conversation.
Yeah, it sounds like we need a utility.
Well, I tell you, if you handed me the money to buy it today, it'd take me 4 years to get it right now. We've been waiting a long time on a couple of rigs today. That's a whole different topic, but yeah, it is another tool that is extremely effective in getting people out of buildings quickly.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. If I had a question in the back.
Oh, there was,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah.
Question about fire safety. So we have a couple trees, specifically in the Ocean Park area along 6th Street, that are currently hanging at a 45-degree angle into the street, and directly below them is the city power line. And every year I've seen them tilt a little bit more, and I'm starting to get a little bit concerned, but I don't know who to report that to. Would the fire station be a good person to report that to?
I'll make it easier on you, because I just did this for the first time the other day for something else. It was actually a speed related thing, and what I saw was a big hole in the ground for a scooter to fall into. 311. Go online to 311 at Santa Monica and submit the issue. Take pictures, because pictures tell the story so well. Talk about the concerns you have, the risk you have, the history that you just told me. And the city will get some folks out there with the arborist and figure out what they can do about the problem.
Or because literally the roots are starting to literally tear up
Yeah,
the sidewalk.
You might end up losing that tree, but at least somebody will come out and take a good look at it. So, great. Thank you.
Before we jump into the next speaker, I just want to echo the 311 encouragement. Officer Hollowell mentioned it as well. I know a lot of people feel that 311 reports go into the abyss. They actually don't, especially if you have to speak, please take it outside. They actually, especially police calls, they, as Officer Hollowell was saying, dots on.
Cops on dots.
Cops on dots, thank you. Like, the more reports they get, the more likely they are to send people. And so especially if you're concerned with the bikes, like, have all your neighbors report to 311 what you're seeing and unhappy about. The more people that report, the more likely it is things are gonna, action's gonna be taken. Our last speaker of the night is Eli Gill from Abundance Santa Monica, and I will turn the floor over to him.
All right, I'm not as professional as all the other speakers, so I'm just gonna say hi, everybody. I'm here to talk about a new local group called Abundance Santa Monica. Can everybody hear me?
Barely.
All right, a little louder. And so Abundance Santa Monica was founded about 2 years ago, and we're part of the Abundance Network, which was founded up in San Francisco. And it's based on a pretty straightforward idea. If we want California and Santa Monica in particular to remain a great place to live, we need to make it easier to build the things our community actually needs. That starts with housing. We've made it incredibly difficult to build modest houses, the kind of housing that lets young people stay close to their family, that allows essential workers to live near their jobs, or that gives seniors the chance to downsize and stay in the neighborhoods they love. Unfortunately, right now in Santa Monica, it's easier to replace a small house with a mansion than it is to build small affordable homes for families. That imbalance has real consequences. People are moving out of this town all the time. Kids grow up and they have to leave. My concern is that that's going to happen to my kids. They can't stay here. Abundance Santa Monica is working to change that. We want to support more housing options in walkable neighborhoods, things like ADUs, duplexes, small apartment buildings, especially things near transit and jobs. The goal isn't to dramatically change the city. It's just to give people more choices and more options so rents can stay the same or even come down. Since I've been living here for 20 years, I moved into my first place at $1,600, and now that place is renting for $4,000. It's just wild, and it's just because of the lack of supply. More people want to live here. California's doubled in population since I was born, and Santa Monica hasn't really built any housing since. So that's what we are working on. We're working on policy to cut red tape, make it easier to build things, make it easier to open businesses. We value good schools, safe streets, healthy environment. Santa Monica has a long history of progressive values, and part of that means that you need to build a place for everyone, not just for the rich. And so that just means having a lot more. So that's what Abundance is all about. So we're just getting started, but we're looking for people who are interested in joining the group. If you're interested in housing policy, opening local businesses, small business owners, we love working with small business people to help work the levers of city power and get things going. So I'll open up to questions.
Thank you.
Yep. Hold on.
Back.
About your organization, actually on NPR radio a couple days ago, does your organization help with city zoning? Because I think there are a couple of zoning problems where we can't have housing built on commercial land. What do you guys do specifically that promotes like increased density?
So, and we advocate. So, I mean, you know, we aren't a governmental organization. We're just a group of local residents and business owners that, you know, we work with city council, we work with state legislatures, like all those people to affect the change that we think is going to create more options. So yes, zoning is definitely a huge issue. Santa Monica has something like 30 zones. It's kind of ridiculous, but you know, it's a little too micro oriented, and you know, they limit where you can build things right now. John, you have a question?
Yeah, so what, when you talk about new housing and people come in, what does that mean to mobility and circulation, right? That people are afraid they might lose their parking spots, right, to somebody. So what do you think of that whole idea?
Well, I mean, yes, there is a finite amount of parking, I guess. It's not infinite. There are a lot of empty parking structures in this town right now, but really the idea is that the more people that live in Santa Monica, the more people will work in Santa Monica. The average car trip in LA as a whole is 3 miles or less. And a lot of people are taking 1 mile trips to the grocery store because it's really easy to just park right there. And, you know, that just creates all the traffic and congestion we see. So, you know, I would prefer that there'd be more people living in our neighborhood so you can have more restaurants and, you know, more interesting stores because there's more people to pull from. Right now, we're so dependent on people coming in from outside, which creates a lot of our problems with traffic and all those other things.
If people want to learn more, get involved.
You can talk to me after the meeting. Also, if you just search for Abundance Santa Monica and on your phone, it'll pop right up to first search result. You can send us the email.
C-E or T?
Abundant.
T.
But it's also the Abundance Network of CDs. We are part of the Abundance Network, but we are Abundant Santa Monica. So both, you'll find us either way.
Great.
Yes. That's right. San Francisco was the first chapter they worked on. They opened a big park there. They changed the board of supervisors up there to try and build more housing in San Francisco. Then we opened, and now Oakland is the next chapter. And I think they're working on one in West Hollywood or Glendale next.
So to paraphrase, there's an abundance of abundance.
It's happening. I recently wrote a book and even on a huge book tour, and that's kind of related to this as well.
Great.
Rent's too damn high, right?
The rent is too damn high.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all right, thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you, everyone. We're gonna jump into board business, and we are super short on time because we ran really long on speakers. But I will just kick it off really quickly with sort of executive matters. One, I just wanted to share in case you missed it in the newsletter, we've had a number of new business tiered members join over the past month. We announced last week that Raphael Berrigan from Douglas Elliman Realtors joined as our first ever diamond level sponsor, committing $3,000 to the organization over the next year. Incredibly impressive commitment to the organization. I just want to thank him for that, even though he's not here. But hopefully if you see him or engage with him, whatever, he's very active in the community, please express that gratitude. That also prompted a couple other realtors to step up. As Rob Macchio increased his business membership from silver to gold. And then Ted Winter said, how can I not also be a gold member? So they all joined at the gold level as well. And then Gerber Kawasaki, which is a financial investment management firm that recently moved into the Edgemar complex, the old movie theater. That's just that's right behind Blue Bottle to the right. So between the Edgemar restaurant and Blue Bottle, they're there. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing more from them over the years because he's been super engaged in community stuff. It's someone I've actually known for 2 decades. And he likes to really be involved with the community that he's in, and they plan to try and open up their space to community events and other things in the coming year.
How easy is it to become a member?
of OPA. It is super easy. If not everyone in this room is a member, please jump onto our website or talk to Patty or I after the meeting. Memberships start at $10. Not everyone has to commit $3,000, though we won't say no to that. But senior memberships start at 10, house 20 for individual, and so forth. We don't want money to be a barrier to membership, so please talk to us about joining. We want everyone to join and help support the community that's putting on things like bringing speakers like the mayor and fire department and 4th of July. And yeah, that's Patty back there.
Let's make a quick comment. Kudos to Sean because these memberships tiers really didn't exist. And now I think that when we put ourselves in a place, I mean, the names that you listed off, is that $5,000 in contribution? There's more than that.
Patty would know better, but I think we're about at $5,000 in commitments from business members over the next year.
Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know, the city is talking about taking the $7,000 grants away from the neighborhood committees, mostly because some of that money is being used differently than we use it. But should that money go away or whatever the case, I just the ability to think through this, pump the newsletter into what it is, and then raise the funds. I think it's worth just saying thanks, Sean. Good job.
C3, 501c3, we're not in the same predicament as 5 of the other neighborhood organizations. There are 2 of us that are C3s. That may be a whole different option will be coming around.
Hopefully we're in a different bucket. We are for this year. We don't know what next year will bring. So, so right. So yeah, hopefully we're reaching some level of more financial independence. So. Also, Robbie and Chris Morgan, board member who's not here tonight, are working on trying to find us a new email, newsletter and membership server to try and bring down costs, because that's our largest line item to date. The only other thing from my sort of proverbial desk, just to update everyone, is a community discount program. We've talked about this in the past. Pre-COVID, there was a 10%, or there was an OPA discount card that was usually good at 10% off for a lot of local businesses that went away with COVID and whatever. I've been trying to brainstorm for a few years now if and how to bring that back. Haven't figured out a way to bring it back specific to OPA and Main Street, but I have figured out to bring it back in a much bigger way. And I've been working with the library on a citywide community discount program that we're hoping to launch in beta in September. We've got somewhere between 5 and 10 businesses signed up, trying to sign up more businesses. They pick whatever discount they want to offer. You flash your library card or your digital card to prove that you're local, and that discount gets thrown your way. Thank you. I just got Shake Shack to sign up today for 10% off all local purchases, and hopefully a bunch more businesses will sign up as well. And we'll see where it goes. So stay tuned on that. Robbie, Patty, Kelly, anything else from executive level? Cool. Communications, I'm going to go super quick because I know we're super tight on time, and we have some people that also want to talk about all things Smash. Nothing much to report on the newsletter, although we crossed 2,300 people after the 4th of July parade, and are continuing to grow. And we got a bunch of new members from 4th of July. And Jeff, want to give an update on 4th of July and sort of a recap?
Does anybody have a parade? I think I think this year